Every year the young man would build a grave for himself in the desolate mountains. Moreover, he would sleep in a wooden coffin every night. Though he was an ordinary human boy, he had maintained this habit for 16 years. Until tonight, when the royal princess fled here chased by a wolf demon. She assumed there would be a hunter in the mountain hut to save her. But all she found was a wooden coffin in the hut. Even stranger, inside lay a physical body. It was a boy of about 16 or 17 dressed in black. "Sorry, I've disturbed your peace. I have nowhere else to go. I'll die here instead." Leaning against the wooden door, Lu Qingyao spoke softly. Outside, the howls of wolves grew nearer. At this moment the boy in black on the wooden bed suddenly sat up. Young princess's heart nearly stopped. I opened my eyes, my gaze as deep as an ancient well. A living person? Lu Qingyao gasped softly. Amid her panic she hadn't noticed. The boy was alive. "Of course I'm alive. Who are you?" I asked, my voice hoarse as though I hadn't spoken in years. "Sorry for intruding. My name is Lu Qingyao," the princess said calmly. "A coffin in the mountains. And you buried alive. You're not even dead yet. Why build your own grave? It's a family custom. I think Qinghu Mountain is good. Better to prepare early. Does it bother you?" I said coldly. Lu Qingyao frowned slightly. "Not dead, but the grave is ready. No one builds their own grave while alive. This custom is truly strange." Yet Lu Qingyao felt like she had heard of it before. Couldn't recall where. Footsteps approached swiftly from outside the door. The wolf demon was getting closer. "I'm sorry for dragging you into this." Lu Qingyao slowly sat in the corner, hugging her knees. Her voice was soft, filled with guilt. It was her presence that drew the wolf demon here. She feared the boy in black would also fall victim to it. The door rattled under a heavy impact. The wolf demon growled just outside. Through the gaps in the wooden door enormous fangs were visible. "A visitor? How nice," I muttered, jumping off the wooden bed and heading toward the door. Lu Qingyao's eyes widened, puzzled by my actions. I showed no sign of fear. On the contrary, I seemed faintly amused, like someone who had unexpectedly found money on the roadside. The terror of the three-eyed blood wolf was something Lu Qingyao understood well. Even the cultivator protecting her couldn't escape its jaws. Why wasn't the boy in black afraid? Not only unafraid, he even seemed pleased. Door burst open, revealing a massive wolf head, thrust into the cabin through the cold wind. The third eye on the blood wolf's forehead was fully open, fixated on the girl inside the cabin. Lu Qingyao tensed up completely. Even in the face of doom, the young princess stayed calm. She spoke to me. "When the wolf demon devours me, you should take the chance to escape. You might still have a sliver of hope." The princess knew clearly that the wolf demon was after her, but I acted as if I hadn't heard her goodwill. With a knife in my hand, a smile on my face, I faced the wolf demon and said, "Last month when I was chasing you, you ran pretty fast. I didn't expect you to come right to me today." The wolf demon froze at my words. The wolf's fur bristled all over. Its third blood-red eye on its forehead locked onto the boy in black. Then, to Lu Qingyao's astonishment, the wolf's third eye revealed a flicker of fear. With a panicked howl, the blood wolf turned to flee the cabin. But I had already drawn my blade. Inside the small wooden cabin, a flash of black steel erupted. In the sharp gleam of the blade, the candle extinguished, and even the wind and rain froze in their tracks. Lu Qingyao could not see anything around her. In the darkness, she heard the sound of slicing. Then the cabin fell completely silent. Lu Qingyao could clearly hear her own thunderous heartbeat. Even though she was a princess, well-read and mature for her age, she was still just a 16-year-old girl. Her small hands were tightly clenched. She couldn't tell if the source of the blood scent was the boy in black or the three-eyed blood wolf. The candlelight reignited, illuminating the boy's cold and sharp face. At the door, blood wolf's massive head lay neatly severed on the ground. Its jaw agape. It was unmistakably dead. The three eyes still held a horrifying gaze of terror, as if it had seen its mortal enemy. In the night, the distant howls of wolves echoed relentlessly. Their sound was eerie and chilling. I kicked the wolf's head out the door, and calmly shut it again. Lu Qingyao realized she was no longer in danger. Her small mouth slightly agape. She stared at me in disbelief. That was a wolf demon capable of killing even cultivators. Yet it had been decapitated in one strike. It was as if I hadn't slain a wolf demon, but merely a stray dog trespassing on my property. "I will repay this life-saving grace," Lu Qingyao said softly, gradually letting go of her fear. "No need for thanks. Last month I chased it for dozens of miles. Not only was I exhausted, but it still managed to escape. I should be thanking you, right?" I said lazily, lying on the wooden bed with my blade. "You saved my life. I won't forget that. May I ask your name, sir?" Lu Qingyao asked. "Yun K. K as in, lacking." Lu Qingyao blinked in surprise. A name with lacking in it was truly rare. "In the box are some of my old clothes. All clean. If you don't mind catching a cold, you can also choose not to change." I turned over facing the wall, with my back to the princess. Lu Qingyao, shivering from the cold, was drenched from the rain. Her wet clothes clung uncomfortably to her. The young princess bit her lip, hesitated and then spoke softly. I believe you're a good person. After saying this, Lu Qingyao stood up, found a set of my old clothes, and began to change. In the stillness of midnight every sound was amplified. I yawned. Soon the sound of my snoring filled the room. Even surrounded by wolves, I could sleep so soundly. Lu Qingyao couldn't help but admire the boy's bravery. She sat by the wooden table, staring at the flickering candle flame, lost in thought. Her mind replayed the countless dangers she had faced along the way. She remembered the guards and the elder, who were devoured by the wolf demon. Her heart grew heavier. Exhausted, the young princess fell asleep at the table. She had a dream. In the small wooden cabin, a monster more terrifying than the wolves loomed over her. It bared its fangs and claws. At dawn, Lu Qingyao woke from her nightmare. The howls outside had disappeared. On the wooden bed, the stern boy in black was sprawled out in sleep. The cold demeanor from last night's battle was long gone. There was even drool at the corner of his mouth. Lu Qingyao smiled helplessly. He was around her age, yet he lived alone in the deep mountains. He must have endured untold hardships. Lu Qingyao tried hard to recall where the custom of building one's own grave came from. Soon I woke up, grabbed a sharp skinning knife and went outside. In less than 15 minutes I had skinned the wolf. When I returned I stuffed the wolf's hide into a black bag, slung it over my shoulder and said, I'm heading back. Are you coming? To Kangxi? I'd like to go too. Lu Qingyao nodded, surprised. She was inwardly amazed. That wolf was taller than a person, and even an experienced hunter would take over an hour to skin it. Yet I had finished in mere moments. Let's go together then. But it's agreed. You're buying breakfast. I pushed the door open and stepped outside. At daybreak, Lu Qingyao got a clear look at the surroundings. Just as she was about to step out, she froze at the doorway. Her beautiful eyes widened in fear. Let's go. What's wrong? I asked, puzzled. We can't go. The wolf spirits are still here, Lu Qingyao said, staring intently behind me. In her view, 3 enormous blood wolf spirits were floating outside the cabin door. You can see spirits? I didn't even turn around, looking curiously at the girl. My constitution is special. I have an innate spiritual body. I can see spiritual entities and ghosts. I can even communicate with weak spirits. But the wolf spirits are too strong. I can't control them. It will kill us, Lu Qingyao said gravely. A spiritual body. That's rare. Take this and you won't have to be afraid, I said, taking the long blade off my back and handing it to her. The blade was heavy. Lu Qingyao had to use all her strength to hold it. It was cold. Even through the scabbard, it radiated a bone-chilling cold. Lu Qingyao felt the blade carried immense power, perhaps strong enough to counter the wolf spirits. But she couldn't understand how holding the blade could ward off the spirits. What about you? Lu Qingyao cried out in alarm as she saw me walking out unguarded. I'm not some little girl afraid of ghosts, I said nonchalantly. These aren't ordinary ghosts. The wolf spirits are terrifying. They can possess you and destroy your soul. Lu Qingyao grew anxious, seeing me approach the wolf spirits. At this moment it was extremely dangerous. But then, Lu Qingyao was stunned to see the wolf spirits retreat as I approached. They didn't dare come close. How is this possible? Lu Qingyao was shocked, her mouth slightly agape. She couldn't say a word. Let's go, it's getting late. Lunch will cost more than breakfast, I urged her. Lu Qingyao held the blade tightly, carefully circling around the wolf spirits. Sure enough, the wolf spirits couldn't touch her either. They howled silently, their rage muted. Why aren't you afraid of the wolf spirits? Lu Qingyao asked curiously. If you kill enough living creatures, you accumulate killing intent, and when killing intent builds up enough, it turns into murderous energy. In the face of overwhelming murderous energy, ghosts are nothing but a joke. I laughed lightly. Suddenly her hand brushed against an iron token. Lu Qingyao listened, half in disbelief. She looked down. It was a rusty black iron waist tag, hanging from the blade's scabbard. Carved into it were the words Demon Division. The moment she saw the token, Lu Qingyao finally remembered where the custom of building one's grave before death originated. The former dynasty, special institution established by the Great Yan Empire's Astrological Bureau. With shock in her heart, Lu Qingyao followed me down the mountain. Along the way the young princess was deep in thought. She recalled the catastrophic war between the Yan Empire and the northern demon capital. Both sides suffered devastating losses. The Yan Emperor perished in battle. All the elite warriors of the army were annihilated. The Yan dynasty was drained of strength, and was soon replaced by the Jin Empire. Though the demon capital fell, countless demons still lingered. Thus the Jin Empire emulated the former dynasty, establishing its own astrological bureau. Its purpose was to handle cases involving demonic disturbances. But within the Jin Astrological Bureau, there was no demon division, not for lack of desire, but because they couldn't recruit the unique experts of the former dynasty's demon division. Historical records state that the Demon Division gathered a group of mysterious warriors. Unlike ordinary martial artists, their life force was incredibly strong. Their combat prowess was extraordinary. The Demon Division also had a unique tradition. Those who became demon slayers had to build their own graves. They constructed magnificent tombs for themselves, leaving a strand of hair behind as a placeholder for their eventual rest. Because for the Demon Division, there was only one ultimate fate: to die in battle, leaving no remains behind. 15 years ago, the Demon Division of the Yan Empire was the main force against the demon capital. Ultimately they were annihilated. The Emperor also perished. From then on, the once mighty Demon Division became nothing more than lines in history books. She looked at the boy in black striding ahead of her. Lu Qingyao never imagined that she would meet a descendant of the Demon Division from the former dynasty. An expectation grew wildly in her heart like untamed weeds. Although the Astrological Bureau of the Jin Empire boasted many skilled individuals, it could barely cope with the widespread demon disturbances. Their efforts were mostly limited to repelling demons, rarely eradicating them completely. The Jin Empire could form a division like the Demon Division of old. It would provide its citizens a new lease on life. No longer would they wait year after year for the illusory demon subjugation array, only to end up with endless regret. No one knew better than Lu Qingyao how difficult it was to build such an array. As they descended the mountain, Lu Qingyao's mind was filled with thoughts of the Demon Division. When she came back to herself, we had already arrived at a small town, Kangxi Town, located near the Jin Empire's border. It was under the jurisdiction of Ziyuan County. The town was small, the streets were dirt paths, and there weren't many pedestrians. However, the breakfast shops were packed with people. Lu Qingyao glanced at the steaming food baskets, then quickly averted her eyes, maintaining her composure as a princess. But her stomach grumbled audibly. Fortunately, the noise around them kept anyone from hearing. Make some room. I stood behind a table full of laborers speaking coldly. Can't you see it's full? What room is there to make? If you're late, squat and eat. A wiry man turned and saw me, then immediately changed his tone. Oh, it's Brother Yun. Come, there's a spot here. Take a seat. The men at the table all stood up and gave up their seats. Not one remained, all squatting in a row against the bun shop's wall, with their bowls continuing to eat 2 trays of meat buns, I said, tapping the table as I sat down. The bun shop owner immediately brought over 2 trays of buns meant for another table, and placed them in front of me. The process was smooth and natural. Neither the owner nor the customers I cut in line seemed to mind. No one had any complaints. This kind of behavior, in Lu Qingyao's impression, was something only the young lords of the imperial capital would do. But she noticed that the men around us, including the bun shop owner, didn't seem afraid of me. It was respect, a genuine reverence from the heart. Lu Qingyao picked up a steaming meat bun and took a small bite. It was delicious. While the princess savored her first bite of the bun's sweetness, I had already eaten half a tray. Their buns are the best in town. He said they only make a fixed amount every day. Once they're gone, you have to wait till tomorrow. If you eat so slowly, you'll deserve to go hungry. I spoke as I devoured my food, my eyes fixed on the tray of buns in front of Lu Qingyao. Glinting like a starving wolf, Lu Qingyao immediately guarded her buns, quickening her pace. She couldn't understand it herself. As a princess, why was she behaving like she was protecting her food? It was truly unseemly, but the buns were just too delicious. Further into town there was a cloth alley. It was home to impoverished families. At the alley's end stood a small courtyard, surrounded by a waist-high crumbling wall. A single old house sat within, simple and weathered. The courtyard was clean and tidy, with short white wildflowers blooming in the corners. This was my home. As we entered the courtyard, Lu Qingyao felt like she was stepping into a memorial hall. When we reached the doorway, I suddenly stopped. I'm home. If you've got nowhere to go, you can stay here, but not for too long. I can pay. I'm not concerned about my reputation. You don't need to overthink this. Lu Qingyao said. It's not about whether you care. I care. I frowned and said, if you stay for a day or two, the neighbors will think I brought back a courtesan. If you stay longer, they'll think I brought back a wife. And when you leave later, they'll gossip that my wife ran away. What happens to my reputation then? Lu Qingyao froze for a moment, at a loss for words. Brother Yun, you're finally back. A loud shout came from outside the courtyard. A middle-aged man barged in, dressed in a constable's uniform. It was Wu Deshan, the head constable of Kangxi Town. Wu Deshan rushed over flustered and said, there's trouble. What happened? The county magistrate has a new daughter. That's good news. When's the feast? I asked. It's not that he had a daughter, but that a girl identical to Xiaoqiu suddenly appeared. There's been a strange case at the magistrate's house. Hearing about the twin mystery, the princess became curious, blinking her bright eyes at me. Lu Qingyao wasn't just curious about the case itself. She was even more curious why, when faced with a strange case, the constable didn't handle it himself. but came to find me first. I said lazily, having another daughter isn't bad. Double the dowries in the future. The magistrate is so greedy he'll be overjoyed. Wu Deshan pulled a bitter face and said, overjoyed? Right now he can't even stand properly. He can barely stand. Brother Yun, you must go and take a look. They're waiting for you to save them. Wu Deshan glanced at the sky and said, it's about time, Brother Yun. They're serving lunch at the yamen. Ma Xiaojiao mentioned this morning that there's meat for lunch. Who's Ma Xiaojiao? Lu Qingyao asked. The county magistrate. This official is known for petty greed, but he doesn't dare go big because of his small steps. The townsfolk nicknamed him Ma Xiaojiao. I explained, then headed to the county yamen with Wu Deshan. Lu Qingyao smiled helplessly, her curiosity about my eccentric ways growing. In the county hall, County Magistrate Ma Yan sat in the grand chair, his eyes lifeless. He wore oversized boots, and 2 stools were placed in the hall. On each stool sat a young woman about 20 years old. Both were dressed in green skirts, and they looked identical, like twins. 3 groups of yamen runners surrounded them, staring wide-eyed at the 2 women. The women in green skirts were both named Xiaoqui, the magistrate Ma Yang's own daughters. Neither was married yet. Originally Xiaoqui had been staying quietly in the back residence, but somehow another identical one appeared. 2 identical daughters. Ma Yang couldn't tell them apart. No matter how he questioned them, he couldn't find any flaws. The moment I arrived, Ma Yang's spirits lifted. Yun K, quick, help me figure out which one is my real daughter. The yamen runners nearby, seeing me, also visibly relaxed, as if reassured. Lu Qingyao, following beside me, was astonished to see 2 identical girls. Her gaze wavered for a moment, lingering briefly on the girl to the right. When I entered, I casually glanced over them and said, they're both alive. Ma Yang, Wu Deshan and all the yamen runners froze in confusion. Of course they're alive. The key is which one is fake? The clerk Lu Bukai, sweating nervously, exclaimed. Brother Yun, look carefully. One of them must be fake. They look exactly the same. There must be a demon at work. Brother Yun, you're an expert in slaying demons. Can't you tell them apart? I can't, I replied. I only deal with the hairy ones. When it comes to demons that mimic humans, I'm helpless. I don't have a heavenly eye. What should we do then? Lu Bukai waved his hands anxiously. How about we use a simple method? Wu Deshan suggested. Starve them for 7 days and nights. The one who can't hold out is Xiaoqui. Demons don't fear hunger. Ridiculous. Lu scolded. What kind of idea is that? If you starve her for 7 days, the real Xiaoqui might die too. What's the point then? Exactly, Ma Yang sighed. Is there no other way? My poor daughter. I have another solution, I said. My words reignited their hope. Everyone's eager eyes turned to me. Speak quickly, Ma Yang urged. Identifying the real Xiaoqui is simple. Just check the left hip. After I explained my method, everyone was stunned once more. The yamen runners looked at each other, confused. They didn't understand, even though they weren't sure if my method was reliable. They were curious to see it in action. Ma Yang asked in disbelief. Are you sure you can tell the real one apart? Absolutely sure, I replied, gritting his teeth. Ma Yang ordered, everyone out. All men wait outside. The yamen runners reluctantly filed out. Wu Deshan kept glancing back, his face filled with regret. Even the clerk Lu Bukai left, and the hall doors were closed. Inside were only the 2 Xiaoqui, Ma Yang, Lu Qingyao and me. Ma Yang asked suspiciously, Brother Yun, why specifically check the left hip? I explained. The other day Xiaoqui hit the table corner while bathing. She has a bruise on her left hip. She might not even know about it herself. I see, but how do you know that? Ma Yang couldn't help but ask. I saw it by accident, I replied shamelessly. Lu Qingyao, listening, couldn't help but laugh. With no other choice, Ma Yang gestured for me to proceed. I pointed to the Xiaoqui on the left and said, you first. That Xiaoqui looked embarrassed, but she had no choice. Reluctantly she turned her back, untied her belt, and revealed the area I needed to examine. After taking a look, I'm your daughter. She tried to rush forward, but I blocked her with the sheath of my blade. The real Xiaoqui may leave now. As for you, don't move, or I'll kill you right here. The cold, hard sheath left the Xiaoqui I just examined in utter despair. She collapsed on the ground sobbing. Meanwhile, the Xiaoqui sitting on the right quickly fled the hall, escorted by a few yamen runners back to the rear courtyard. Soon after, Lu Bukai, Wu Deshan, and the other yamen runners rushed in. Weapons raised, they surrounded the sobbing fake Xiaoqui. You filthy demon, how dare you cause trouble in the yamen? You're dead today. The yamen runners shouted boldly, but none dared to move. In fact, they all stood behind me. Wu Deshan, braver than most, held his blade tightly. Brother Yun, act quickly. I'll back you up. Don't let this demon escape. While everyone expected me to slay the demon on the spot, I unexpectedly lowered my sheath and sat to the side. Seeing this, Everyone was confused. Relaxing in front of a demon could give it a chance to strike back. Lu Qingyao softly spoke. This Xiao Qi is real. The one who just left is fake.